You ever get that feeling that you had to grow up way too fast? Like you were carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders when you were supposed to be, well, just a kid. Okay, so let's get into this because that feeling actually has a name. In this explainer, we're going to unpack the whole psychological concept behind it, which is called parentification. So let's start with this question right here. Just let it sink in for a second. Does that sound familiar at all? That feeling of having to be the reliable, mature one in the room, long before you really had the tools to handle it all? If that hits home, you are definitely in the right place. Now, what's so fascinating and a little wild is how that childhood feeling can echo through our entire adult lives. Take a look at these patterns. Do any of them ring a bell? Maybe you're fiercely independent to the point where asking for help feels almost impossible. Or maybe you get this wave of guilt anytime you even think about putting your own needs first. These aren't just random personality quirks. They're often the aftershocks of a very specific childhood experience.
So the obvious next question is, where does this stuff actually come from? To really get it, we have to rewind a bit and look at the roles we were asked to play when we were young.
And that brings us right to the core idea here, parentification. The simplest way to put it is it's a role reversal. It's when a kid has to step up and sacrifice their own needs, the need for comfort, for attention, for guidance, in order to take care of the emotional or even the practical needs of a parent or a sibling.
This quote from therapist Jennifer Jacobson Schultz just hits the nail on the head. In any family, everyone has a part to play, right? But with parentification, the whole system gets flipped upside down. The child ends up taking on the parent's job way before they're emotionally or developmentally ready for it.
It's also really important to know that parentification isn't just one thing. It kind of breaks down into two main types. First, you've got instrumental parentification. That's about the tangible stuff, the doing, cooking, cleaning, maybe even paying bills. But then there's emotional parentification. And honestly, this one is often way more damaging psychologically. This is when a child has to become a parent's therapist, their marriage counselor, their emotional rock.
And this quote from someone who went through it, man, it just captures the whole feeling, doesn't it? It's this profound sense of a lost childhood. Those really crucial years where you're supposed to be messy and figure out who you are, they get completely replaced by this huge, heavy responsibility. It leaves this feeling of grief for what you missed out on.
All right, so now let's connect the dots to adult life. Because these roles we played as kids, they don't just magically disappear. They actually build the blueprint for our personalities, our relationships, and even our mental health for years and years to come.
This chart makes it so clear. Look at the straight lines you can draw here. If you were the one doing all the instrumental tasks, does it surprise you that you might be a chronic overworker who just can't delegate? If you were the emotional support system, you might now be constantly scanning the room, making sure everyone else is okay, while totally forgetting about yourself. See? It's not a coincidence. It's a learned survival pattern that's become automatic.
And this gets wired deep down right into our nervous system. A parentified kid learns on a primal level that being useful is what makes them valuable. It's what keeps them safe. Being still, being quiet, that feels dangerous because in a quiet moment, a crisis could be brewing or a parent's needs might go unmet. So being busy, being active, that becomes a shield.
And all of that wiring, well, it leads to this whole cluster of challenges when we're adults. We see a real difficulty with boundaries because how could you learn them if they were never there? We see this crushing sense of responsibility, chronic anxiety, and of course, a tendency to be a people pleaser, often at your own expense. And this right here, becomes the internal soundtrack. This belief, if I don't do it, nobody will. It's like the anthem of hyper-independence. It makes it almost impossible to trust other people, to let them help, or to just let go and believe that the world won't fall apart if you're not holding it up.
This also has a huge impact on how we form relationships. Think about it. If the person who is supposed to be your safe harbor is actually someone you have to take care of, it completely messes with the natural attachment process. So what happens later? It often leads to insecure attachment styles. You might be anxious, always craving closeness, but terrified of being left. Or you could be avoidant, where real intimacy just feels threatening. But listen, this is the most important part of this whole explainer. I really want you to hear this. These patterns are not a life sentence. Understanding them is the first massive step on the path to healing and to reclaiming all the parts of yourself that you had to put away.
The good news, and it is truly good news, is that healing is absolutely possible. It's not about trying to erase your past.
It's more about learning how to reparent yourself. It's about finally giving yourself all the compassion, the validation, and the care that you needed so badly back then, but might not have received.
So what does that journey actually look like? Well, it often starts with just acknowledging what happened and letting yourself be sad about it, grieving the childhood you didn't get to have. From there, it's about taking small, real steps, finding a good therapist, practicing the incredibly hard art of saying no, and learning to talk to yourself with some kindness. And then, the really fun part, rediscovering who you are when you're not taking care of everyone else.
And if you do look for some professional support, there are a ton of really effective ways to work on this. Trauma-informed therapy is huge because, at its core, parentification is a type of relational trauma. Things like attachment-based therapy can help heal those relational wounds, while CBT can help you challenge those deep-seated thought patterns that keep you stuck.
And if you boil it all down, this is the ultimate goal of healing. It's about this deep internal shift. It's about finally truly understanding that your worth is inherent. It isn't, and it never was, based on how useful you are to other people. You deserve rest and care and love simply because you exist, period. So I'll just leave you with this one question. This isn't about some massive, life-altering change overnight. It's about starting small. What is one tiny, totally manageable thing you can do to put your own needs on the map just for today? Answering that for yourself might just be the very first step onto a whole new path.